in the box.
Ready to go.
We be fast and
They be slow.
Hey, what's up Ghostbusters Ireland fans? You've got Paul here once again with you for another Ghostbusters Ireland video. And this is the start of a new series we are doing, Eaglemoss Build the Ecto 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to build this car in 141 issues. So first of all, we have to say a big thank you to Ghostbusters Ireland's friend Johnny Nichols from Eaglemoss. Without him, this would not be possible. So thank you very much for this. We really, really do truly appreciate it. Thank you. So, building the Ecto 1. I mean, what car is more iconic for a Ghostbusters fan than the Ecto 1? It is a Miller Meteor Cadillac. And we're going to have a look and see what it's all about. So, it's 80 centimeters long, so that's 31.5 inches. What else has it got? Opening doors, the windows will go up and down. It's got proper tires, proper hubcaps, properly detailed engine, full working lights. The gurney comes out of the back for the proton packs to rest on. The bonnet opens, as I've said, we've got a proper engine in there. And of course working lights. Now this, even opening the first page of this magazine is beautiful. This is just the introducing section. And we can see lots of artwork and photographs from Ghostbusters all along the bottom there. So this is really going to be a journey through the Ghostbusters film for us with the car. And here we have details of this car. So we can see our headlights and parking lamps. We've got the tail lights. We have our rear workstation. Our freestanding stretcher, replica Cadillac engine. It's got the sirens, the PKE detection array, replica hubs and tires, driver's cab, and winding windows. I think that is fantastic. This is really going to compare to the Blitzway when it's all finished. So it just gives us some details about what we can expect. So we get our instructions in each magazine, and then we get a bit of story and stuff to read as well, so it'll always tell you what's coming in the next issue. Now, along with this introducing guide, we also get a full-size poster of what the Ecto 1 is going to be. Let's have a look. It's big. So that is it from the front and the back. I turn this poster around and we can see that. That's what we're looking at. It's huge. So for any conventions we're going to be at before this car is finished, we will have this poster up on the wall at the conventions. And of course we need somewhere to store these wonderful magazines we're getting each week. We get this beautiful binder, so it's got the Ecto on it, and it says Hero Collector at the bottom. Lovely, lovely place to store all the magazines. So once each section is complete, we will record it into the binder then. So for now, I'm just going to pop that out of the way. So a few things about building the model. So make sure your workspace is nice and clear. You've got plenty of bright light, because you don't want to be straining your eyes while you're working. The tools that you need come with this, so you get everything that you need to build it in the set. It's also good to have a little set of helping hands like so. It's got a magnifying glass on it, and then little bits that can hold small fiddly bits while you screw them in. And the most important thing to do is to take your time and enjoy it, okay? Without enjoyment, there's no point to it. So we're going to enjoy what we're doing. We're going to take our time, read every step, because we don't want to make any mistakes with this. So, let us look at part 1. So, we've got issue 1. So, issue 1 comes with quite a heavy piece of tool, or a heavy piece of body. and that is the bonnet. So in here we get it's like a grill, another part of the grill, vents for the bonnet, the Ecto 1 license plate, some screws, and of course it comes with the screwdriver as well that we need. So we open this up, and if you have to use a knife, be very, very careful. I'm just going to use a small little screwdriver I have. And you want to make sure you open it. You don't want to ruin or scrape any of the parts inside the packet. Okay. So everything is wrapped in plastic inside for protection, which is good. So we just open that up. And we have access to our parts. So we have the bonnet. Now the bonnet is heavy. That is solid metal. So like that gives you indication of what the overall build quality of the car is going to be like, and the weight. I believe the weight is around about 14.5 kilos. So it's going to be heavy. So we pop that down, keep it safe. We also then have the bodywork trim. And vents and screws. Comes with a no ghost sticker as well, which looks like this. And we have then the screwdriver that we use to build it. So it's nice that we get that too. So the actual magazine, now let's see what we've got in the magazine. So we get, in our introduction, tells us what our car parts are. So the first components of your Ecto 1 are the hood, air inlets, hood rim and front license plate, plus a bonus sticker for you to use however you want. So I'm not too sure where I'm going to put that, but I'm going to find somewhere nice to put it. So yeah, we'll come back to the instructions in a minute, but it gives us the origin story as well. So the original Ghostbuster. Now for those of you who have seen the Cleaning Up the Town documentary, it covers this very nicely about the origin of Ghostbusters and Dan Aykroyd's grandfather being a medium or a man that would investigate spirits. So this really goes into the details behind that. So back in the early 1980s, Dan Aykroyd hit upon the idea of meddling madcap humour with paranormal activity. More than 3 decades later, Ghostbusters remains one of the best loved comedies of all time. The original film, he says, was much darker, much scarier, almost like a horror movie. And again, I keep saying about the beautiful artwork in these magazines. So it says here, checking the PKE meter, race dance gear benefited from Dan Aykroyd's real life experiences. That's actually not checking the PKE meter. That is Aykroyd switching on his thrower for the first time when he says to himself, I got a hold of myself, when he's referring to Slimer in the Sedgwick. So yeah, it gives you a lot of information all about Dan Aykroyd, and then of course we need an introduction for the car as well. So here we see the car turning up at Fort Detmering, one of the deleted scenes from Ghostbusters, which is now available in the 35th anniversary steelbook, and we can also see Ray working under the bonnet. Now interestingly, in the trailer for Afterlife, we see this carpet reappearing and Finn Wolfhard replicating this pose working on the Ecto. So that's a nice little nod back to 1984. So 2,102 Cadillac commercial chassis were made in 1959. Around 400 of those became Miller Meteors. So that is the origin of the Ecto. And then of course you get Ecto 101 at the end, a weekly list of all things that makes Ghostbusters great. And the first one is the Aykroyd family farmhouse. Now that is not to be confused with the farmhouse from Afterlife. It is completely different. So let us actually have a look at our build then. So we have our car components. Stage 1, the hood. So what I would recommend is take your time, read the instructions, make sure you use the right parts all the way through the process. You don't want to use a screw that's too long, it's going to potentially damage a piece of plastic in your build as you go. So begin building your Ecto 1 by fixing the air inlets to the hood, as well as assembling the hood rim, which will be attached to the hood at a later stage. So we have our air vents that look like this, and they are marked in such a way that they will only fit on in one way. Okay, so one goes on like so, and then the other one will go on beside it. Now they are marked because there's little studs that have to press into a recess, and even what you can do is use a piece of low tack masking tape just across the top to hold those in place if you're having difficulties while you're screwing them in. And then once they're screwed in, the low tack masking tape will pull away and not leave any sticky residue. Okay, so the screws that it has to use are screws Alpha Mike. So each little bag of screws is marked, okay? So we can see that is marked as AM. And we have a bag of screws. If there's any leftover screws, what I recommend doing is put them back in the bag that they came out of. Then that way you've got them as spares and they're correctly labelled. So we have to put 8 of these little screws in order to hold the vents on the bonnet. So we just take our time, make sure the hole's lined up. We never over tighten the screw because we don't want to strip the head off it. And those screws go in very easily. Now what I always recommend doing is putting diagonal screws in. So diagonal screws in together, then that'll hold it into place, and then we can put in the opposing diagonal screws. So we just press the screw onto the screwdriver, use our fingers to help guide it into the hole, and then we just tighten away. So these are metal screws going into metal that is already cut, and it is already got threads in it. So that's good, it's nice and easy. So what a thread is basically a way a screw can mount into a piece of metal, and that is bored in at manufacture. So if you're having problems like me, what you can sometimes do is use a magnetic screwdriver or magnetize your screwdriver just by stroking it onto a magnet. So, or a bit of blue tack even will help line it up. There we go. So that's screw 3 going in to hold in the bonnet vent. There we go. Oh. And then screw number 4. So it goes too. So that's one vent mounted. So there's 4 screws then to hold in the second vent. Put these in. And the second one, so again we'll go diagonal with our screw. There we go. I mean, the hood ornament is on this already and it looks fantastic. Just the general feel of it is good, and the fact that we're using screws and it's not just clipped, you know, it's much more authentic. So, okay, here we go. Number 3 going in. And we don't over tighten the screws because we don't want to damage the heads on them. And number 4. Now, you don't have to be technical or you don't have to be an engineer to do this. The instructions are very clear. They're very, very well laid out. So you don't have to worry about instructions. And you don't want to over tighten. There we go. So, we have the bonnet vents on. As you can see, they've mounted into the one you can't really see, but there's little holes on the underside of that. There's 2 screws spare, so I will pop those back into the AM bag. Seal that back up. Now, step 2 is assembling the hood rim. Locate the hood rim interior, which will be the plastic, and this is metal, and it presses in, and then we have 4 screws, which are Bravo Mike screws. So that just mounts in like so. Excuse me. And then we have our second little bag of screws. Bravo Mike, which then mount in. Now the license plate we've got, the Ecto one, it doesn't mount on until we get to issue 3. So what I recommend is if we get a large sturdy box, like a plastic box, to keep all our parts in while we're building. So these mount into the little circular bits. So we just offer those up and then we screw those in. Yep, get a large box to put all your parts in. That way you won't risk losing anything. We mount these up, nice and easily done. Okay, there's that done. And number 3. And of course, guys, any conventions or anything we're at, we'll have the partial build with us as well, ready to show people, let them see the progress of it. And in goes number 4. So there we go. 1 screw left over. So we pop that back into the bag and we save it in case we need it at a later stage. It's always good to have some spares. So that is the second part assembled. So that is issue 1 assembled. We'll now look at issue 2. We're very lucky to have issue 2 as well right now. So we'll put that, keep that safe. And we have issue 2. Now, issue 2 is the front grille and the front lights to assemble. So the magazine's a bit thicker this week, probably because there's more steps. So we got our headlights and grille. We'll come back to that. That's what we're going to look at. Yep, it's quite complicated. Next we have a look at the practical effects Ivan Reitman employed to make Ghostbusters. He may not have donned a proton pack and grey jumpsuit, but Ivan Reitman is definitely one of Ghostbusters' heroes. The director and producer reveals some of the magic tricks behind the movie and says why working on instinct was its key to success. Now, Ghostbusters was actually mainly done using practical effects. Again, watch the documentary Cleaning Up the Town and you will see that. You will see how they've done all of it. So, it was originally called Ghost Smashers because Ghostbusters was owned by Filmation. And like we can see some of the practical effects here atop of Dana's apartment block. Audiences would scream like crazy and then start laughing. That's what Reitman says. So, some more of the pieces where there was effects. So, the arm that comes out of Dana's sofa was actually Ivan Reitman's arm, and he done the voice as well of the terror dog when it said, "There is no Dana, only Zool." That's Ivan Reitman doing that voice, and that's his arm we can see as well. And then, of course, Ghost Breakers and Spook Chasers. So, an old classic film there, which was part of the inspiration for Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters has its roots in American humour and American film. Abbott and Costello, the Bowery brothers, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis, everything, those guys all done Ghost pictures. As a huge movie fan, Dan Aykroyd was happy to admit the film's influences, as this quote from one of his interviews in the 80s. So it was actually Dan Aykroyd said that. And then issue 3, we're getting components for the engine, it looks like. So, let's have a look at the build instructions. So, yep, headlights and grille. So there's quite a lot to do with the headlights and grille section. So I'll pop the instructions down. We then very carefully open up our parts. Recycling the packaging, of course, as we go. And again, everything is really well packed. So we have our grille, we have our headlights, we have our strobe lights as well that go on the bonnet. We have more bags of screws. Now, This is a little more complicated than issue 1, but again, we take our time and we enjoy it, okay? So fitting the front grille strip. Take the front grille strip, which is part 02E, which looks like this. Now always make sure you orientate the parts the correct way. Make sure the right side is facing up by using the diagrams and looking at them. So we can see that there's 2 screw holes facing up on one side and 2 screw holes facing up on the other side. Okay, we then take our grille, as it says, and we make sure our plastic lugs are located correctly, and then we position it into the grille. Like so. Okay, so secure from behind using 3 Alpha Papa screws, figure B. Okay, so there's 3 screw holes, and we use the screws from screw bag Alpha Papa. So there we go, there's lots of little screws in this bag. So I'll just tip 3 out if I can. There we go. And then we can just use our same technique before, line up the screw onto the screwdriver. And then we drive that home. Do it very carefully. Same again. Just drive it home. And then the final third one. So in it goes. And that's at home. Excellent. So that's fitting the front grille strip done. Seal up the wee bag of screws so we don't lose any of them. Okay, so affixing the side grills and strips. So these are the side grills and strips. There's the grills there. They look like that. And again, we're going to use the AP screws. So we collect our parts that we need for this step. And we take our time and read the instructions, okay? So firstly, place the left grill strip. So we make sure we line this up correctly, looking at the pictures as we go. Yep, on the left hand side of the front grille, so the screw holes and the 2 parts match up, fasten them with 1 AP screw in the top of the left grille strip and 2 further at the rear of the left grille strip. So what we're doing is this will sit over the front like so, and just line up like that, and that would be it in place. So we get 2 screws, 1 screw in the top, and then 2 in from the back. So let's do that first. So these parts are actually marked L and R for left and right, okay? So I'll tip my screws out that I need. So we put our 1 screw in from the top first. Or maybe I will actually put the one in from the back first, because it will help position it and line it up. So come on. See, this is actually a metallic screw. In it goes. And in it goes now. So it can be a bit fiddly. Again, we can use masking tape if we need to, just to line it up. And this screw is actually magnetic because it's sitting on the end of the screwdriver. So we'll just take our time. And it goes, that's it. I know there'll be a great deal of satisfaction with this model that you'll be able to say that you built it yourself. That's something really good to say. There we go. So just pin those 2 parts together with fingers, And that's it, tightening in now. Okay. Do the other side as well. So the same thing. We just position it. Sits in. We get our screw now. And in it goes. Tightens up nicely. That's it. We just take our time doing this, no rush. Okay. So we've popped those two bits in, and then we can put on our little grill trims. Now we have to have a look, make sure that we get them the correct side. So the parts themselves are sided like so. So we can see there is one edge is at an angle, and that will then line up, and let's just see. Yes, it will then just go in and sit like so. Let me get a screwdriver and a screw. So yes, they are sided because there is a little semicircle at the top of trim to follow, and we're using the AP screws again for this. So we just position the screw, ready to go. And I think, yeah, I need to take some of my own advice and get some masking tape in for the next issue. So this could be quite fiddly. So we position that, we tighten it in, and that's that step good to go. So the next thing we look at, I believe, will be the light clusters. So in terms of lights, there's quite a lot of lights on the Ecto one. We have little anti-collision strobe lights, which go on the front. They look like that. And they have a special little plastic housing that they sit in. So they just position in like that, and then they can get mounted onto the front bumper. And then we have the actual light cluster themselves. So metal part again. Then we assemble it following the steps. So starting with the left headlight. Are they marked? Let's have a look. Yes, to do with where the screw holes are, so we can see and correct their orientation. The position in the holder, and then the lens goes in. So we have a light cluster like that. The lens holder goes on, and then this presses into the metal. Okay, so that goes in. And then that presses in. So that is an assembled light cluster. So there's space there for the actual lights to go into this when we're wiring the lights. And then that will press into there. And the actual light clusters themselves are marked R and L as well. So then we know we're getting the correct ones. So basically they will assemble like so with the bulbs in there. And we will be left then with something that looks like this when it's all put together. So we can see we have our lights in there, we have our anti-collision strobe lights on the front, we have our grill trims on the side, and there's spaces in the back ready for the wiring to go in when we get to that stage. So that, my friends, is issues 1 and 2 of Build the Ecto 1. I hope you have enjoyed it. We are making this a regular feature. Again, thank you so much to our good friend John at Eaglemoss and Eaglemoss themselves. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. It's all about spreading the love of Ghostbusters. And whatever platform you're watching this on, be it our Facebook Live, Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube, thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you next time for another session of Build the Ecto 1. So this is Paul from Ghostbusters saying, I'll see you on the other side.